So I was listening to an episode of EFAP, the newest episode that was released yesterday while I was at work, and it was actually about a movie bomb video, or the section of the EFAP that, of course, 5 hours long. So it was towards the tail end, but man, I was laughing my ass off listening to this video, and I really wanted to make a response to it because I think some of the information here is not only incorrect, right, but hilariously so. So let's go over it.
Hey, welcome to my new show. You know, when the Escapists told me they wanted me to do another show for them, I couldn't quite process what was going on. But when they said it could be a show where I just get up on my soapbox and say whatever I want about whatever random nerdy thing is on my mind at the moment, while these pop art representations of my fractured psyche spell out my emotional state, it all became crystal clear. I am working for crazy people. And
Yeah, I mean, you would kind of have to be crazy to hire Movie Bob to do this, but I digress. Let's keep going.
it's awesome. Now, providing my producers don't experience a sudden moment of clarity as to the dark and terrible force they're about to unleash upon the interwebs, on the big picture, we're going to talk
It is
about
dark
all
and terrible.
kinds of stuff. TV, science, food, movies, comics, politics, monkeys, whatever. But because I like to make a big entrance, let's kick things off by talking about video games. These video games. Alright, so it's no secret in the gaming world that I'm not a big Halo fan, but because some readers kept asking, I did go and give Halo Reach a shot. I'm still not feeling it. Sorry. Hey, big ups to Bungie on all that brilliant characterization on Noble Team, though. The girl soldier is a badass. The other badass likes to stand out. The really big guy is actually a big-hearted softy. Hoo-hoo, boy. Way to break the mold, fellas. But ultimately, it did lead me to a kind of revelation, or at least a notion that had been building up slowly in my subconscious finally broke out and flowered into a full-formed thought. The Covenant is so much more interesting and diverse visually than the Spartans are. Does anyone else notice this? Now, to be fair, this makes sense in context. The Spartans are a military outfit specifically raised and scientifically augmented to be largely faceless, emotionless force of living weapons. They're a militaristic, quasi-fascist wet dream, basically, right down to being named after the society that wrote the book on militaristic, quasi-fascist wet dreams. This stuff has been the life...
Okay, so this is the first big one, right? So he talks about, the Spartans essentially being a part of a quasi-fascist organization, blah, 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 blah. Right, and let's just go over some things, okay? So, during the beginning of the Human Covenant War, which, to note something, the Covenant attacked first, so, there is that, obviously, right? But the United Earth government is the actual democratically elected government of the UNSC. They are the governmental branch of, the UNSC is the military, and the United Earth government is the actual government of the Halo universe of humanity, essentially. And this government is, in fact, completely democratically elected. Okay, so let's get that right first. So, it's pretty hard to call it a fascist government when, the entire thing is democratically elected, but I digress. The beginning of the Human Covenant War essentially starts off, right? And what you have happen is the United Earth government cedes control of the operations of the governing over to the United Nations Space Command, which is the military, essentially military rule temporarily for the course of the war. Now, how this actually works out in practice is actually even more democratic than you would ever expect. So essentially, once the war actually ends, the UNSC completely transfers over all of its governing control back over to the United Earth government, which they could have tried to essentially coup the government, theoretically, but they chose not to. They in fact chose to recede their control over the governing of the entire, uh, Earth Empire, I guess, back to the United Earth government. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons, right? Because a democratically elected government is accountable to the populace of said government, right? And this includes all races of people. There's no talk of racism within this government or anything of the sort. And again, the Covenant attacked first. The United Nations or the United Nations Space Command and the United Earth Government, very often tried diplomacy during the beginning of the war until it became very clear that the Covenant was not going to uphold any of their deals that they made. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons, because this shows that the UNSC is not only not a quasi-fascist government, but they are also very accepting of other races, in fact. Funny how that works, isn't it? But let's go ahead and continue.
Lifeblood of the military sci-fi genre ever since Starship Troopers, except there the Space Marine guys were up against an enemy whose collective insect hive mind makeup made them even more faceless and anti-individualist, so it kinda balanced out. But in Halo, look who fights for the Covenant. Big guys, little guys, creatures from tons of different worlds and every...
Big guys, little guys. Now, I know the EFAP crew kind of tore into this, but let's go over a little bit of the history here. So the grunts are essentially have been enslaved, basically. The elites have been duped into this whole thing, and as have the brutes, because the brutes aren't very intelligent, and the prophets are very, very intelligent and very manipulative, right? So this essentially has led to the creation of the Covenant, which is based on theocratic ideals led by the prophets of regret, truth, and all of those guys, right? So to in any way say that, and also not, and this isn't even to mention that when the elites defected from the Covenant, you know who was there welcoming them with open arms? The UNSC, the military martial law government over humanity. They actually said, you know what? We will actually allow these people in. Now, this isn't to say that ONI, the essentially CIA of the Halo universe, wasn't up to tons of nefarious business, as they always are, because their ethics are quite questionable, let's say, and they aren't really accountable, much in the same way that, the current day CIA and, I guess the CIA of the 80s would be much more comparable, or like the 70s, 60s, when the CIA was up to a lot of real wacky shit. Yeah, did we say that the United States was a fascistic government back in the 70s and 80s because the CIA was up to a whole bunch of no good? Well, no. That's not exactly how fascism works, and it's not exactly how, that's just not how any of this works, okay, Bob? Let's get that right. Moving on.
Color of the spectrum. I mean, just look at all these dudes for a minute. It's like Reach is being invaded by a Benetton ad from space. In terms of diversity, the Covenant makes the Planeteers look like the KKK. And of course, these are the bad guys.
Yes. You want to know who are the good guys? The good guys are the multiracial, multi-ethnic group of people who are a part of the United Earth Government and the United Nations Space Command. One of the most prominent characters in Halo is a guy named Sergeant Johnson, who is actually one of the first prototype Spartans in the universe. He was pretty much the foundation of it, a black man, right? And this clearly shows that the UNSC and the United Earth Government have no qualms about other races of human beings. So let's get that right first off. Just because there aren't other species involved necessarily, until later, of course, doesn't mean much of anything, does it?
Yeah, I know, all these different species come from different worlds because they were conquered and converted by the Covenant, so it's mainly diverse because it's essentially a slave army, which is of course supposed to remind us in part of another famous multinational slave army that went to war with another bunch of guys called Spartans. But come on, how many people actually play Halo for the context? Think about
Uh, okay, so if you aren't hearing my impassioned speech here, a lot of people play Halo for the context. In fact, the only reason I really loved Halo as much as I did, obviously I haven't really played anything since Halo 4. That was the last Halo game I played. But I mean, past that point, like the United Earth Government and the UNSC, it's just so bizarre to call them the bad guys in any way, shape, or form. Oni are bad guys, but even in Oni's case, there is some type of understanding that, you know, whilst the ethics of what they were doing, and by the way, all of this is talked about in universe, the ethics of the of Oni and how they operate, trust me, the UNSC and the United Earth Government aren't big fans of the way they act a lot of times. Okay, this is very clear, and it's talked about many times, within different books and different snippets and what have you. I like if you actually have the Halo 4, I think, collector's edition, you actually get a book about Dr. Halsey's operations and all of the stuff that was going on there. And trust me, none of these things are presented as being good. Okay, they are, however, presented as being necessary in some cases. Now, not all cases, but some. So let's get that right.
how this looks when viewed in the macro. Militaristic culture visibly pretext on submission of individual self to quasi.
Not true. The United Earth Government is a democratically elected government accountable to the people, as it is a democracy. ONI is pretty much the only agency within the United Earth, that whole stratosphere, I suppose, is the only one that's really not held to account in a lot of ways. But even then, they are held to account in a lot of ways as well. So, let's get that right, okay? Dr. Halsey in particular, like there's a lot of stuff that's talked about, within the morality of the Halo universe, that a lot of these things were not good morally. But sometimes the ends may justify the means, and yeah, and also not to mention, this is literally humanity fighting for its survival. And once humanity survives, again, the UNSC transfers over its power of governance over martial law and all of those things back to the United Earth Government. Now, this is not what a fascistic quasi blah 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 fucking whatever buzzword you want to throw in here. This is not what those types of governments would do. I think that's pretty evidenced by pretty much all of any history of fascism, anyway. And yeah, it's pretty obvious, let's say.
Fascist collective equals good. Multiple races and species working together to a common goal equals evil.
Jesus Christ. I was only listening to this video, so I didn't actually catch all the pictures that they're using here, but these are fucking wild. But again, I mean, the United Earth Government is not filled with only white people. In fact, think about it. You have so many different races of human beings working together for a common goal. Now, you also have a bunch of races and species of aliens working for a common goal, but that common goal is actually the activation of the Halo rings, which should bring them to, fucking Valhalla, essentially, whatever the fuck it actually is. I don't particularly remember in detail at the moment. but yeah, I mean, they want to activate the Halo rings to reach salvation, basically. Now, the prophets who are running this whole operation know it's a scam, and they know they're scamming everyone else. And when the elites find out it's a scam, they're like, hey, humanity, would you guys want to fucking team up? Because this is some bullshit. We've been fucked up by these dudes, and, we're not too happy about it. Once the elites lost power within the covenant and the power was given over to the brutes, yeah, the elites were like, you know what, bro, fuck this. The Sangheilies were out. They didn't want it anymore, and humanity was more than willing to accept more allies on their side, as is reasonable by a government that is essentially fighting for its life and fighting for the lives of all of not only humanity at that point, but also for the lives of all of these Sangheilies. Now, this is, of course, a very uneasy alliance, as, the elites had taken part in the glassing of many hundreds of worlds, like Harvest, like Reach, like, so many different worlds. And, so obviously this alliance is very uneasy. And in fact, Oni even tries to assassinate Delvedam, which is the arbiter that we play with, with Master Chief in Halo 2 and in Halo 3, and the Mr. Shipmaster, I guess, in Halo 1, right? So, man, if it man he like his description of the lore is like just so wildly inaccurate that it's not even, I mean, it's fucking hilarious, but it's not even funny at the same time.
I mean, when the skinheads and neo-Nazi bigots in general talk down about how diversity is bad and you shouldn't mix the races, isn't this usually the basis of their crazy argument that mixed societies or mud races or whatever they call them tend to be these destructive, unclean hordes, while pure cultures emphasizing sameness and conformity are superior? Look, I'm not here to accuse Bungie of promoting fascism, especially since what we do see of Spartan creation does cast the whole thing in an air of morally ambiguous gray, and holy...
It is not just cast as morally ambiguous and gray. One of the actual books on this is a book called Halo New Blood, I believe, and it follows the ODST team that we saw in Halo 3 ODST, consisting of Buck, Dutch, Mickey, and all the rest of the boys, And, it follows the story of what happens after the events of ODST, where, you have, where you have Spartan Buck now, they're essentially being turned into Spartans as a part of the new Spartan 4 program, which allows for, they don't have to take kids anymore, right? So clearly, if they don't have to take kids to make Spartans, they won't do it. That's pretty obvious. There's a reason why the Spartan 2, they aren't making Spartan 2s anymore, guys. They're making Spartan 4s, which are, guys who voluntarily, based on their military service records, who have distinguished themselves, are able to become Spartans voluntarily, right? And they choose to do this, obviously. So, yeah.
Crap! Wait, can we go back to that? Did his eyes just turn blue? So hold up. You got this young guy with the conspicuously well-shaved head getting turned into the ultimate human weapon, and it worked because his eyes are blue now? Bungie, that's some pretty scary unintended symbolism there.
Okay, this is ignoring that. I'm pretty sure June, who is he's a Spartan 3. The only Spartan 3 to survive out of Noble Team, by the way. I'm pretty sure he's not white. And I'm pretty sure George wasn't exactly white either. So, yeah. I don't know.
This is some kind of self-parody, right? Right? Okay, maybe that's taking it too far. The show is called The Big Picture, after all, and in this case, the big picture isn't the creepy fascist undertones in Halo, or the rather embarrassingly vast pantheon of Heinlein wannabe Space Marine stories. It's the fact that this primitive tribalistic idea of the pure and thus noble monoculture under threat...
He keeps saying this. There's just no monoculture. Who do you think we were saving in Halo 3 ODST? We were saving New Mombasa, which was a city in Africa, believe it or not. Oh, and you know who lives in Africa? African people. So the UNSC had a vested interest in, well, I mean, I guess, I guess you could theoretically argue, oh, they're only doing it to defend, because to defend the relic or whatever it was, that was beneath New Mombasa or whatever. Like I said, it's been a while since I've really since I've really had a love for Halo. So a lot of this information is, it's kind of gone away from me. But man, this video could not be more inaccurate about what the actual themes of Halo are, and not only that, but what actually happens within the universe. It's just bizarre
by
how
multiculture
you could get
is
it this
still so
wrong.
tragically pervasive in the human imagination that it even crops up here. Which is especially ironic since the whole idea of the Covenant as bad guys is supposed to be critical of blind loyalty to arcane belief systems.
Again, do you think that the humans in the UNSC and the United Earth government are uncritical and are blindly following what their government does? Do you really believe that? Because pretty much all of the information I know is that actually they aren't big fans of some of the actions of the UNSC and some of the actions of ONI in particular. Like ONI is not a good organization, and it has never been portrayed as such. Some of their actions have been portrayed as evil, but ends justifying the means, and insofar as the creation of the Spartan 2s and the Spartan 2s and I guess even the Spartan 3s to a degree are concerned. But once you get to the point of having Spartan 4s and they're able to make Spartans without all of the unethical bad business, they do that. They do it happily. And those people, they volunteer for it. Based on their service record, well, I guess they volunteer for it, but they're selected, handpicked, I guess, right? If I remember correctly, anyway. If I'm getting anything wrong, correct me in the comments down below. But I'm pretty much getting there. Okay, I'm pretty much getting there. But yeah, let's see what he says at the end of this.
Why does some part of our collective psyche still fear the concept of racial or cultural mixing? And why is
I'm gonna sound like a broken record. Humanity allied with the Sangheilies after they defected from the Covenant. Master Chief's homie in Halo 3 is literally the Arbiter, who was literally one of the essentially right-hand men of the prophets. Literally the right-hand man of the prophets. That is what the Arbiter is. Okay, like let's not make mince words about it. That is what the Arbiter was. And yeah, Oni tried to kill his ass, and you know what? I'm sure if Earth found out about that, they wouldn't be very happy. But I'm not that updated on the lore, I suppose.
is it so ingrained that we hardly even notice it anymore? More importantly, why aren't we more inclined to try noticing it and even getting rid of it? I'm Bob, and that's the big picture.
God, this video is so fucking bad, dude. Oh man. I just don't know how you could so willingly, and because I will say it's willing, because there's just no way you could. Actually, I think yeah, it was the Halo Reach collection, special edition or whatever. You get that book from Dr. Halsey, I believe. I think it was the Halo Reach one, actually. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know how you could so willingly miss all of the actual context that exists in the Halo universe that explains why the UNSC did what it did and why things function as they do. I mean, it's just bizarre, and it really gave me quite a laugh while I was listening to that EFAP episode. And I thought it was enough that, you know, I know a decent amount about Halo's lore and everything, that I thought it would be fun to make a little video about it. So yeah. Uh, anyway, I guess I'll end it off there. I'm curious, what are the comments? Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, the comments aren't great on this video either. Yeah, literally nobody plays Halo for any for most of us. A lot of us play Halo for the campaigns, or at least did back in the day. You know, obviously there was a lot of the sandbox stuff, you know, playing multiplayer and all that stuff, and that was a lot of fun stuff too. But you know, at least for me, I primarily loved Halo for the story, and you know, it's really quite something that that this is what we took, what Bob has taken away from Halo, and I mean, I'm man, it's unbelievable. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all I've got to say about it. I've been Exodus. You know, if you like this video, or if you have any corrections about my Halo lore, if you're, you know, more up to date or whatever, you know, I haven't even played the Halo Infinite campaign. I just don't care enough anymore, you know, about Halo as a universe. I mean, I guess I do pretty clearly since I'm making this video, but uh, I care about what Halo was, not what it is now. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like on it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I've been Exodus, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.